Hello and welcome to another edition of Homebrew MTG. It's Monday, it's time for magic, it's Magic Monday. Yes it is. We have a lovely Vivian Planeswalker on the front. Let's hope we pull something as spicy, if not a Vivian. We will go through each individual card, assess their pickability and whether it should be the first card you pick in a pack in a draft environment. So first up we have Capture Sphere. Very nice. I am a fan of this card. At flash speed it will tap an enchanted creature and it doesn't untap, getting rid of the threat of a big monster. Good stuff. So that is going to be our first consideration. Then moving on to Ferocious Tigerilla. Not a bad card. The flexibility is quite useful. You would generally try to pick Menace over Trample when trying to push home an advantage. Trample is more prevalent as a keyword counter unless you have a big aura that's granting it extra power. It's in a limited environment. I found Menace to be a bit more useful. Not quite as good as the Sphere though. Imposing Phantasaur, one of the many creatures that have a 1 cost cycling clause. It's quite expensive if you are hard casting it, so I would generally avoid this one. Unlikely Aid, we have a 1 colorless and a swamp. Target creature gains indestructible until end of turn. It seems quite a nice card on the face of it, but the amount of times that you, one, have the mana free to counteract one of your creatures dying, it's going to be a dead card, or you're going to have it stop you casting other things because you want to leave the mana up. And yes, there is removal in the set, but having this card in your hand and then your opponent having the removal in your hand and then casting it is not going to be as relevant as just putting a creature down. So you'll remember the times that you succeed with it, but there will be lots more times that you will not succeed with it. Next up we have a Flycatcher Giraffid. Enters the battlefield with your choice of a Vigilance counter or a Reach counter on it. Quite expensive for what it does. There are better Reachers and better Vigilant creatures, so I would probably avoid this card. Pretty much the same, but the blue counterpart, expensive for what it is. Slightly better choice of keywords though. Hexproof and Flying is way better than Vigilant and Reach, but still quite expensive. You're going to still get more use out of the Capture Sphere. Anticipate is quite nice. If you have this in your hand and only 1 or 2 lands, it could sway you to keep that hand. Looking at the top 5 cards and then putting one of them into your hand. That does... Oh, it's 3 cards. Worse than I thought. That does count land, but you would prefer, again, to play a piece of removal or a creature card. This card is straight up bad. Suffocating Fumes. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-1. Considering the size of the monsters in the set, it's going to kill very few creatures. And yes, it's got the cycling card, but there are better cycling cards that have an impact when you hard cast them. Evacuation Mole, if you're in the Abzan colors where you're looking to actively fill your graveyard, this could be fine. A 3/3 trample is an acceptable rate, but still not on par with Light of Hope. So this is quite a decent versatile card, especially for 1 mana. You choose either gain 4 life, destroy target enchantment, or put a 1/1 counter on target creature. The versatility of this card, just for 1 mana, means that it is an option. We did have a little bit of a peek at the back cards, but I don't know what the rare is just yet. So next up we have Clash of Titans. 2 mountains and 3 colorless. Target creature fights another target creature you control. Target creature fights another target creature. So in the ideal scenario, you'll have 2 creatures on the opponent's side that will equally trade with each other, but that's not going to happen as much as you would like. And if you do have one of your creatures and an opponent's creatures, 5 mana for a single fight spell is not that great, especially when you have Go for Blood, which is 2 mana and it's got a cycling clause. So at uncommon, I'm not utterly convinced by this card. Unbreakable Bonds. This is quite nice. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a lifelink counter. Useful to get back your biggest creatures, and the lifelink ability will get you a little bit more life, believe it or not, to bring you back into the game. So it's a bit of a win more card, but also could swing the game in your direction. It can be considered one of our picks that we are going to maybe choose. I will put it in the consideration pile for now. Next up, we have Channeled Force. As an additional cost to cast a spell, discard X card. Target player draws X card. Channeled Force deals X damage to up to 1 target creature on Planeswalker. So it's fine if you're in the cycling build. It works well with what's her name, Rael, the Izzet mythic, but the chances of you pulling that in a draft environment or sealed environment is very slim. It's okay. I generally wouldn't pick this card. So onto our rare, we have, ooh, very nice, a Yorion. So this one is pretty much a game breaking at the moment in standard. A very nice card. If you're not running this as your companion, the enter the battlefield effect is pretty good. If you have, like I said, enter the battlefield effects, but just straight up 4/5 for 5 in limited is not a bad rate. So looking at our considerations, I'm going to take away the Light of Hope. Yes, it's a good versatile card, but it's not going to have as much impact as the other 3. Sorcery speed hurts this, and having to line up the sequence of events of your biggest or one of your best creatures in being in your graveyard, then having this in hand, then being on the right amount of mana to cast it. It's a lot of hoops to jump through, and this one is not very good late game either. I would much prefer to have a 4/5 flyer than not guaranteed getting a decent card out of my graveyard. And so we're down to 2 blue cards, believe it or not. I think just because of the versatility, if you do want to try and meet that companion clause, then go for it. But in limited, I think getting that 4/5 flyer is going to be pretty decent, and there's enough enter the battlefield creatures for it to be worthwhile. So our first pick in this pack is Yorion the Sky Nomad. Very nice too. Join me next Monday for Magic Mondays. Cheers.